Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. I'm Wayne, and I guess I am the wooden tool man. Crazy as it sounds, but some of this stuff that I'm making, the reason why I called it Wooden Tool Man's channel is because, as you can see, all my gear seems to be mostly made out of wood, but you know, a lot of this stuff I've been using for years, and it's been working good. Now, this particular machine that I'm going to show you today was one that I just stuck together just in a few days back when I built it. So it's not very pretty, but did it work really good at the time? It was incredible. I was just flabbergasted at how well this thing worked. So it was basically built in just a couple of days. I just got an idea to build this thing and knew what I wanted it to accomplish it, and so I built it. So if you haven't seen this before, what this machine does is it kind of, it's a Mortise and Tenon machine, and I've got other videos to show this, so just have a look. In this video, what I'm going to do is actually show you more of it, show you basically under the hood and how it works. And you know, you can see why I called it the floating router, because it kind of floats. It's, you know, it makes it so you can move this router around with basically one hand. And why I'm able to do that is because there's a set of springs down here. So so really, you know, the construction was pretty easy. I just pocket holed this cabinet together and got a router down inside. So I guess the best thing to do would just be to grab the camera and maybe just show you some of the mechanics of this thing. So I'll grab the camera and I'll bring it over and we'll do a little. So this machine actually went through a flood, folks. You can actually see the high water mark here on the front of it. So this thing was basically pretty near floating in water. So the melamine has swelled up a little bit because it's been in a real damp location, and like I said, it went through a flood. You can see the high water mark here, so it didn't do it any good, that's for sure, being melamine. But I'm amazed it didn't hurt it too bad. I think with a little bit of tweaking here, I could have this thing cutting again without too much trouble. So the way this is working, you can see there's a router bit. I just use an old router bit, a 3/4 inch cutter with a bearing on the end here. So this, you know, if I put my template in this side, this bearing's gonna, you know, it'll follow this. And because I've got the router is, you know, basically, you know, make a line that runs straight through. Well, if I have a 3/4 inch cutter now, I've just got a 1/2 inch one stuck in there just for this video's purposes. You know, I should have a 3/4 inch cutter that would be exactly the same as that one on the other side. So if you followed a line through, that's going to be directly in line. Now then my fence would be directly in line right across. So if I put a template in this side, whatever that bearing follows, it's going to reproduce it on this other side, as you can see. So, you know, it can basically, I can end up with 1-to-1 copy. So if I make a copy that's this size, if I've got the same size of cutter on the other side, it'll make an exact copy of it on the other side. So the router was a little bit interesting to mount, but I found a quick and easy way is I had this it's an old Hitachi router that I had laying around, and I've got about 5 of them around here. So this was just one that was it was pretty much wore out when I stuck it on here, so I wasn't too worried. I had a whole bunch of these bases for them around. So what I did was I just actually took a piece of 3/4 inch melamine and cut the hole out for the base. And once I had that hole cut, then I just drilled some holes through the edge of the melamine. As you can see, there's one there, and then there'd be one over here and one on the bottom, and that's what holds that base in place. So now it's, you know, it's flush to here, and it's held really tight. I was amazed how it was easy and fast, so that's what I was basically after. So you can see there's lots of dust under here. It's been a while since I had this out to play with it. So the way that I get, like, if you watch the videos, you can see that I make the router bit come out with my foot. Like, all of a sudden that router bit will come out like this. I guess it's already out, so I'll just release it, put my cutter here to the top. So you can see, if you see, it's a pretty simple little mechanism here. And what I did was I just had an old cable for a bike, is what I had for the brake system of a bike. And what I did was just make a little simple lever system here on the end to push the router in. So when I push on the lever down below, it's going to push that, and then I've got a little lock mechanism that's what pushes the router out. So it's actually pretty simple. But it doesn't have to be fancy to make it work. So then down below, what I've got is just a simple lever system down here with a little spring on it, you can see, and the little, so when I do, what I do when I get ready to router is I just put my foot up there, push it down, and then there's just a little screw that this catches on to set the depth. It's there somewheres anyway. Yeah, there it is. You can see there's just a little screw that catches on to set the depth, and that'll keep the depth coming out consistent. So pretty straightforward. So now this is the part, I'm going to show you the handle first. I like this part too, is I got a nice handle out back that I can get both hands on this thing to hold it, and then, you know, so I'm going to follow my template, whatever I'm putting in there, and then like I said, this is going to transfer. So this nice handle, I like this. This was probably my favorite part of the machine. I got it pocket hold on there and just a nice heavy duty piece of dowel, and that's how I did. And then I just, like I said, I just pocket hold this cabinet together. It was fast, and said I think this thing was up and running just in a few hours. So now I'm going to show you under the hood of this thing. It's so simple, I'm almost scared to show you. And what it is, you can see there's just a couple of screen door springs. So there's this, I call these machines 4-bolt specials because that's what they need to build them. You need 4 bolts and a couple of springs. So the 4 bolts, I'm going to get down here a little bit lower. So the first 2 are actually on this lever here. So this one doesn't even have a nut on it, as you can see. So there's 2 bolts here, and that's for that first set of levers. So, and that set of levers comes up and hooks into another lever right here. So here's where you get your action. This will pivot down, and then this one will rock back and forth. So there's your action, as you can imagine. So when I push down, so any position, so this is why the router hovers, because it extends them springs. So when it's hard to get this on video too, but it's so simple it's not funny, as you can see. So when I push down, that gives me travel, and then I can rock it back and forth, which covers that distance. And this thing, it gives me about, on this side, I think the bed here is about 12, and I can comfortably router about 5 inches high. So about 12 by 5 is the area here that I've got the router. Now, if I wanted to, I could build a bigger version of this without any trouble at all. Just build a bigger box, longer levers, longer piece here, and then I could make it travel a lot further. So, really, very simple machine. It doesn't have to be fancy. And you know, when you do this, it's best to use melamine. And I'll tell you the reason why is melamine slides on itself so easy. With a little bit of spray silicone on these joints, on this panel, this thing slides just super easy. And if you keep this stuff in a dry spot, and even if you don't, like this one was through a flood, and I know that I could still router with this thing because it's staying tight. Like when I try to wiggle it, there's no wiggle. It doesn't wiggle back and forth, and that's all I need. I just need something that's going to be consistent, so it doesn't have any side-to-side movement. This up and down movement doesn't matter because it's going to transfer from side to side. You see what I mean? If I have movement that goes back and forth, trouble. But where this is still tight, there's no movement back and forth, so it'll do an exact copy. And I did have to line this up. I had to zero it in. I put my bearing in the corner of this fence, and all I did was have my bit come out exactly in the corner of this fence. It's zeroed in. It only took a minute or two, and then it just makes it easy to change templates. Just push things back against the fence, your template, or your one you want a router, and then your template on this side would just go back tight, and then it would just reproduce it from side to side. So there you go. So there's my floating router. I know many of you have seen this at the beginning, and I didn't show how it was built because, as you can see, it was almost scary. It was so easy. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Keep watching. I'm going to show you how I build this other stuff. And if you want more videos on this, I could get the measuring tape out too, and do some measuring too, and give you some sizes here of the different things on this machine. So thanks for watching.